everyone, welcome back to Lavelia's Colorings. This is going to be part 2 of my collection of completed coloring pages. I will be starting with my smaller sized books. So I was gifted money a couple years ago for Christmas, so of course I used that money to purchase stuff from Amazon Japan. And this is one of the books. It's called Sweets and Dishes by Irene Nishiwaki. So right here. And the one page I colored is this one, the donuts. I colored it with Holbein Artist coloring pencils because, you know, I thought Japanese pencils on Japanese books should work pretty good. But I also want to try my other pencils to see how it works, especially like the soft pencils like Prismas. And you'll notice through my finished pages, you'll find tissue paper that I use to protect the other pages. But, you know, with 4 kids, there's a lot of birthday parties, and I accumulated a lot of tissue paper, so I use it to protect the other pages in my coloring books. And they're not so bulky, so it doesn't take up that much space. So this is Sweets and Dishes by Irene Nishiwaki. This is Escape to Wonderland, a coloring book adventure. It is illustrated by Good Wives and Warriors. I colored the title page here with Prismacolor Premiere. And I colored this while I was on vacation at my parents' in Las Vegas. And I actually just colored like a third of it and finished it at home. Because, you know, it's Vegas. Cannot finish anything over there. This guy. And then I colored the second page. And this is colored with Faber-Castell Polychromos. And I put soft pastel in this area. So that's Escape to Wonderland, a coloring book adventure, illustrated by Good Wives and Warriors. This is called Mine Frohling's Spicer Gang. It is illustrated by Rita Berman. I think in English it's called, well, I wrote it down as My Spring Walk. The page I colored in here is this one. And I colored it with Kohinoor Tritones. I think it's when I first purchased it, so I was trying to see how it'd color. And also soft pastel in the background. And this one I can feel I put a fixative on it, so that's probably why I didn't put any tissue paper on this one. So that's Mine Frohling's Spicer Gang by Rita Berman. This is Mine Winter Spicer Gang. It is illustrated by Rita Berman. I wrote it as The Winter Walk. The first picture I colored in here is this one. I colored this with Prismacolor Premiere with White Posca and Jelly Roll as the stars, and I did little dots on the backs of the reindeer. The background I got as an inspiration from was it the Aurora Borealis? I just googled it and found the picture that I liked and tried to copy it into the background. The next one I colored was for 2017 2017 Christmas. And it was a color along for the 24 days. I forgot who was hosting it, but I colored this with a lot of different kinds of colored pencils. It's Marco Raffine, Prismacolor Premier, Faber-Castell Polychromos, the Holbein Artist colored pencils, and the Tombow Eroshiten. I also use, for details, metallic gel pens, the Sakura White Jelly Roll, and I use a bit of Zig Wink of Stella. I'm not sure where the Zig Wink of Stella is because they're really hard to find when you lay it out. I think it was on this heart. I can't see it in any other ornament, but that's it. And I was planning to do this one for this past Christmas, but I didn't get to because I was busy doing a lot of other pictures, plus this page for another color along for 24 days. And I used Holbein Artist pencils. I used a small color palette, and then for the details I used metallic gel pens and white Posca and white Uniball Signal. So this is Mine Winter Spicer Gang by Rita Berman. The next book I colored in, which is also illustrated by Rita Berman, is, oh, it's going to be hard, Die Welt unter der Lupe, Zolande, and I interpret it as Land Under the Microscope. So the page I colored in here is this one. I colored it all with Prismacolor Premier, and you can see that I lined the flowers and this little bit over here with the white Uniball Signo, and I also used metallic gel pens on the flowers and the butterfly. And that's it for this book. So that's this one, Land Under the Microscope by Rita Berman. This is Fadorables Minis, the pocket-sized cute fantasy coloring book by Selena Fennick. And the one picture I colored in here was for Halloween. And I colored this with the Lemouche markers, and then to shade it in, I used the Black Widow colored pencils, the Caran d'Ache Pablos, and also Prismacolor Premiers. To add the details, especially on the dress, I used Staedtler fine liner, metallic gel pens, and a white Uniball Signal. So this is Fadorables Minis by Selena Fennick. This is Enchanted Faces, Mermaids, Fairies, and Fantasy pocket-sized coloring book by Hannah Lynn. I colored this page, I believe it's called Moonglow. Yes, Moonglow. And it's colored with Marco Raffine. I remember finishing this in the parking lot of my son's elementary school while I was waiting for him to get out of school. Oh, this was fun. The next page, I also colored with Marco Raffine, but also with Crayola Super Tips to shade it in. And the next one, colored is this one. And it's a base of lemon markers and then Faber-Castell polychromos to shade it in. It's a cute dragon. And that's it for Enchanted Faces by Hannah Lynn. This is Portrait of the Mermaid. It's a pocket coloring book by Sarah Burrier. Sorry if I messed up her name. The page I colored in here is this one. And it's with Prismacolor Premiere. Oops. And really struggled because it's the first... I've only colored here like a couple of times, and trying to find where the highlights and the lowlights were. It was really hard with all the curls, but it was fun coloring it. And I really like the pastel colors. So that's Portrait of the Mermaid by Sarah Burrier. Or is it Burrier? This is A Million Owls, Fine Feathered Friends to Color by Lulu Mayo. And I colored this for a Valentine's Day color along. I think it was back in 2017. And it's colored with Prismacolor Premiere. A lot of cute images in here. Wish there was enough time to color. There we go. And this is A Million Owls by Lulu Mayo. This is the Japanese book Fantasy Season, and it is illustrated by Yukako Omoto. On this title page, I colored the mouses and all the stuff with Derwent Inktense. When I first purchased it, I tried it out on this page, and the outside is soft pastel. The Derwent Inktense did shadow through a little bit on the side. If you can see right here, and a little over here. So, I don't know, maybe watercolor, regular watercolor is better on this marker rather than Inktense. But I like how it looks with the Inktense on this. So the next page I colored in here is this one for Valentine's Day color along in 2017. I colored this with Mitsubishi Uni and soft pastel for the background. So this is Fantasy Season by Yukako Omoto. Okay. I just want to apologize if you hear the television or my son popping up to say hi. Anyways, a lot of people will recognize this book. It is by Momo Girl, called Girls with Poems. And the page I colored in here was for color along. I believe Nirma Coloring was hosting. I remember it because it was just a couple months ago. So anyways, I colored it with Caran d'Ache Luminance and Holbein Artist Colored Pencil. And I was inspired by KP Colors, who showed a little tutorial on how to use washi tapes in your coloring books. So I messed up a little bit over here, but from far away you can't really tell. So that's the page I colored in this book. I don't have her second book, only because I put myself in a strictly no-buy month or two. So we'll see. Probably later on I can purchase it. Anyways, this is Momo Girl's girls with poem. This is Colorful Dream of Mermaids and Seashells, Syrena by Mardell Rubio. The page I colored in here is this one. I colored this with Caran d'Ache Pablos and Tombow Erosion. I used the Kuretake Zig brush clean color, I believe, on the background and on her hair. And for details, I used the Signo Uniball, or the white Signo Uniball, and the Kuretake Gansai Tambi Pearl colors for her tail. And I colored, like the goldfish, I put orange on her tail, and the blue from the gem, and the red from this gem to kind of show like it's reflecting off her scales. So that's Colorful Dream of Mermaids and Seashells, Syrena by Mardell Rubio. This is Fantasia by Nicholas Chandra Rianata. I only colored one in this book. It really scared me, I think. I really wanted to color it all nicely, so but I only colored one, and this is the page that I colored. Oops. And I colored this all with Prismacolor. Had a lot of fun with this. I wanted to color the dragons like it was tarnished gold, but I didn't know how to go about coloring it that way. And I think on Instagram someone suggested, just put the green where you want it to look tarnished and then put the gold, and I was like, oh yeah, but this is how I colored the dragons for now, which is okay. I can try tarnished gold somewhere else. So I really love how this turned out. So that's it for Fantasia by Nicholas Chandra Rianata. This is Moon Blossoms, an art book you can color by Katrina Payon. I colored one picture in here. It's not in here anymore because I framed it up for my mom, and I'll insert a picture right here. So this is Katrina Payon's Moon Blossoms. This is Clara Yang's Love in 30 Languages, a travel adventure coloring book. I only colored one in here, and it's the Egyptian queen. I colored her as Nefertiti. I used Prismacolor Premieres and Faber-Castell Polychromos for her skin, soft pastel for the background, and metallic gel pens on the flowers. Sorry about that. Okay. So that's Clara Yang's Love in 30 Languages. This is the Korean coloring book called Forest Girls by Apol. I colored this page with Holbein Artists colored pencils and soft pastel for the background, and a little white jelly roll. I don't know what it is, like water? So that's Apol's Forest Girls coloring book. This is Peter Pan, an enchanted coloring book with removable poster by Fabiana Attanasio. I only colored the story part in this with the little illustrations over here, and they're all colored with Prismas, the Prisma Premier colored pencils, and with white Posca to line the stars. A cute little bear. And on this one. And I believe that's it. Yeah, I haven't colored anything else in this book. So this is Peter Pan by Fabiana Attanasio. This is a Posh coloring book, Peanuts by Charles M. Schultz. I colored a picture here for for Halloween, and it's colored with Holbein colored pencils, and the background is Monia soft pastel. Sorry, shadows, and then gel pens for the stars. Yeah, the paper in this book is really thin, and I wanted to use it for like gel pens or the Zig clean water, but you can see they went right through. So I just use pencils on this book. So this is the Peanuts Charles M. Schultz, the Posh coloring book. A lot of colorists would have seen this book before. I don't want to try to butcher the title, and I don't know the translation for it, but this is illustrated by Carolina Kubikowska. This is her first book, and the page I colored in here is this flower. I colored it with Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolors. I believe I just received the watercolors, and I was trying it out on this book. And I used the bronze for the brown parts right over here, so you can see it shining as. Okay, so this is the only page I colored in this book. There you go. This is by Carolina Kubikowska. This is Coloring Europe, Charming London, a coloring book tour of England's iconic capital. It is illustrated by Lee Il-sun. I believe she's Korean. And the page I colored here was picked out by my son. Here. And I used Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolors and Derwent ink tints. I used Koh-i-Noor polycolor to shade it in, I believe, and then I also used some Crayola Super Tips, and then some white Posca for the flowers. So that's Charming London by Lee Il-sun. This is Irene by Nicholas F. Chandroyanata. I guess he also goes by Nicholas Spielberg. And this is the page I colored. It is colored with Prismacolor Premier and Tombow Erogetin. Also Sakura White Jelly Roll on her eyes and lips and on the little pearls or balls. So this is Irene by Nicholas Chandroyanata. I believe this is a Polish coloring book. I'm not sure how to say the title. Zhen Yaki, and I'm sorry if I butchered that, but this is a coloring book with dogs on it. She also has one for cats and dragons, and the illustrator is Barbara Sobzinska. The page I colored in here is this one, and I colored it with Kohinoor Arteza colored pencils and also the Prisma Premier. I also used white Posca to put a glare on the window. So here you go, by Barbara Sobinska. This is Jasmine Beckett Griffith coloring book, a fantasy art adventure. I've had her book for a couple years, and I've always been a little hesitant about coloring in her book just because I love her illustrations and I don't want to mess it up. But I did color one, and it's a small one. I colored it with Prisma Premier and with a little bit of Sakura Jelly Roll on her eyes. I don't know if you can see it there. So that's it for that one. This is Jasmine Beckett Griffith's coloring book, a fantasy art adventure. This is the Flower Fairies coloring book. It is by Frederick Warne, but it is also the illustrations by Cicely Mary Barker. And the page I colored in here was this one. I colored it with Holbein Artist Colored Pencils and a little bit of Wink Costella on her wings. You can see it, and on the shell of the snail. I don't think you can see it, but it's there. So this is it. This is the Flower Fairies coloring book. This is Mouse Guard coloring book by David Peterson. This is colored with Derwent Inktense. I think this is a fun book to just use Inktense, and it really holds well and doesn't go through. And the other page I colored from here is this one, and it's also with Derwent Inktense. Just love how the Derwent Inktense looks on this page. So this is the Mouse Guard coloring book by David Peterson. This will be the last book of this part of my collection of completed pages. This is Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, a coloring classic. Colored the title page, which was colored January of 2017. I colored it with Faber-Castell Polychromos, and the background is with the Monia Soft Pastel. Actually, I just purchased it at that time, and I was trying it out on this background. And a little tip for those of you that haven't used this soft pastel yet, don't put your fingers on the page prior to applying your soft pastel, because it leaves fingerprints. I think the oils from your fingers are still on the paper, so yeah, it's a little tip for you guys. And the page I colored is this one of Pemberley. It's mostly colored with the Faber-Castell Polychromos. Only the building and its reflection is colored with the Prismacolor Premier's French Grays. So I want to thank you all for stopping by and watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and if you like the video, please click me a quick like. For those of you who have already subscribed, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it, and I hope you come back again for part 3. So have a good morning, good day, afternoon, or good night, wherever you are in this world. So take care. Bye-bye.